Hi, it is Martha of Just Martha Designs, and today I'm going to show you a way to use your watercolor pencils. These are the Stampin' Up! Watercolor pencils, and I'm going to show you a way to use them that's not like a pencil. Generally, I just kind of keep this is just regular cardstock that I've cut into strips. And you can do this one of two ways. You can take just some scrap cardstock that you have, and you take your watercolor pencils and you create basically a little palette. So you'll just kind of color small dots and color another dot. Do not rub, blow it off there, just because if you do that it will smear, but you just keep going along coloring and just coloring little circles in until you have yours already filled out. And I've been using this, and that's why I said you can see where that kind of smeared. But you'll get all your colors lined up here. I actually have white here. It's kind of hard to see. But you create for yourself just a little palette. And you can use the palette with just the little water brushes, or you can use a regular paintbrush and just a little bit of water. And this is what I keep my water in. I have to put a lid on it, keep my cat out of it. But I'm going to be using this right here. I'm going to use this little palette here, and I have some watercolor paper. You'll find the description and link for that down below. And I'm going to just use the Country Lovin' stamp set that I have here, because I think this is just really cute, and I'm going to use the little boots to create this. The only thing that you have to remember when you're using the watercolor is you will need to make sure that you use the StazOn, because the StazOn will not run when it comes into contact with water, and you really want to avoid that running. So yeah, we'll go ahead and make sure that's on nice and tight. I'm going to go ahead and ink up my stamp with the StazOn. I'm going to stamp that right in the center. Press firmly. Make sure that you keep your StazOn closed up, because it will dry out. And there is my little boot. And I am ready to start with the watercolor. Now, normally when I watercolor, or when I paint with watercolors, I'll usually have this flat to keep it from buckling, but because of the way that we're using this, I'm not going to need to do that, because we're not going to be painting with really heavy water. You need a paper towel or something to kind of dab the excess water. You don't want to overly wet your palette. Remember, this is paper, but it'll help us, instead of coloring with the pencil, this is going to help us kind of get a better effect of the paint. So let's go ahead and kind of wet my brush. Like I said, I'm not going to put a whole lot of water. I just want to kind of wet the tip, and you can tell if it's too much because it'll puddle. But I'm going to kind of wet the little spot there, and I can go ahead and just kind of start painting. I'm going to paint a little bit with the gray, some of this shadow here. And remember, you can always go back in, pick up a little more color. Alright, so wash my brush. Now I'm going to start in with this early espresso. Wet. You can, I don't know if you can tell, see if I can, that it's kind of puddling, and that's kind of what I want it to do. So because the most paint is on here right now, this is going to be my shadow. So I want to paint where it's going to be a little darker. And you can see my paint's kind of puddling on the watercolor paper too. And then I'll just keep pulling this out. I think I may want to go back and make that just a little darker. Right in there. I'm going to need some full color. Alright, so now I've got most of my shadow in there. I'll start on this side because I have some areas that should be a little darker. And on this stamp set, you can tell where it's supposed to be a little darker because those are those little lines there. And the great thing about the watercolor is that it's not going to be absolutely perfect. You don't want just one continual even color. The watercolor should make it look almost as though you have those shadows, those lights. And even something as simple as adding in just a little more water can help you pull that color. So for example, wanting to add just a little more color to kind of loosen up just a little bit. Okay, so now that I have that in there, I'm going to put the bottom of the boot on. I'm going to dampen that black. And I want my boots to be just a little colorful. Let's see. Maybe a little bit yellow for the buckle here. And this color right here. We want it to have some I think one time my son tried to get me to buy pink boots. And I just didn't think that I could pull off the pink boot look. Alright, so now, it's just a little darker right here. And my little pair of boots are finished. But you can do this with just about anything, and as long as you know like what color you have there. So like I started to run out of the brown. I probably could not get much more there. I could always go back once it's nice and dry and put that down once more and continue on. But this is so neat. It's better than just trying to color it in and then blend out, which works, but you may not have the chance to do that. And this gives it that watercolor look with the natural looking highlights from where the watercolor was kind of diluted. I hope you enjoyed this really quick tutorial. It did not take long at all. Once you do things like this, you can always attach them to a card of your choice, and I will probably be adding that to a card here soon. But don't forget that the new catalog is out, and it is on my webpage. If you go to www.justmarthadesigns.com, you can check out the new Stampin' Up! Catalog. And if you're wanting to purchase some of the watercolor pencils like I used here today, go and check out my store. You can find that just by going to my website. And you can also look in the link below. There will be a link to that. So, hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Give it a thumbs up if you did. And, as always, I hope that you have a very blessed day. Bye.